If they were like, do you want Chris Paul for nothing? I'd be like, no. Vibe killer. Yes, we would probably win an extra 15 games a season, but like killing the vibes, don't do that.
What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Today, we have producer, writer, TV personality, and podcaster. You guys have seen him on The Ringer and ESPN. A true OG in sports media, David Jacoby. Welcome to the Courtside Club.
Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be here in the Courtside Club. I feel like Jack Nicholson.
It took me a while to pin you down and get you as a guest on the show, even though we've been talking about it for a few months. We met at Jalen's event in Detroit. So I'm glad that we get to connect, even if it is virtually.
Absolutely. But it is one of those things where it's like we met at Jalen's thing in Detroit, but like in the way like the world and my phone works now, like I feel like I've known you for years. You know what I mean? True.
And I've actually been watching your guys' show since like way back. Because it was a YouTube show first.
Yeah, it went podcast in I want to say September of 2011. And then we were on YouTube probably later that fall. YouTube for a long time, then radio, then late night ESPN2, then afternoon ESPN2, then ESPN1. It's just kind of like gradually built. But we had no idea what we were doing in the beginning whatsoever.
But I loved it. I mean, I fell into YouTube, and obviously I'm still kind of in this digital space. Like, this is my world. So when you guys first started, I was like, this show is dope because it was so different than what a lot of sports media was doing. So anyway, I'm glad to have you on my show today, especially with NBA season also kicking off. I want to dive into the NBA. If you're down.
So down. Okay. In the Courtside Club, of course.
Right. What teams do you have your eye on right now? I don't want to jump right into, the Lakers Nets conversation that everybody else is talking about.
Let's go conference by conference, right? I'm really like the Eastern Conference is intriguing most to me because we'll get to the Western Conference, but it does feel like it's kind of like Warriors, and then like who's going to challenge the Warriors, right? But in the Eastern Conference, there's like this tier of like Bucks, Celtics, Sixers. I'm a Nets believer, so we don't have to have the full Nets conversation, but I'm a Nets believer, so I'm putting them in that like top tier. But like, would you be surprised if either one of those four teams were sort of like in the NBA Finals? Like, not really. And then there's this second tier, which is like the most intriguing to me. Of the like, I'll put like the Hawks, Raptors, Heat. I'm doing this on top of my head, so I'm probably like, some fan base is upset with me right now. But like,
can we put the Cavs in there?
Can we
just throw them in there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Exactly. Exactly. See, we always say this on Jalen Jacoby. Like, if I'm ever making a list off the top of my head, just know there's like an asterisk. Like, I'm gonna forget somebody important. And like those four teams to me are really the most intriguing. Like, which one of those four teams could have a great regular season and host a round one? Which one of those four teams could I see 4 months from now that I don't see either one of those four teams get to the finals, but that could change over the course of time. You know what I mean? Like in 4 months, could I see one of those four teams like truly being a contender to like win the Eastern Conference? So like those are the four teams in like that spot, especially like in the whole league, but in the Eastern Conference where my intrigue is like most peaked.
Before we go to the Western Conference, I want to go back to, you said you're a Nets believer.
Yes.
Why?
But the thing is like I've also been a Nets believer like the previous two preseasons. You know what I mean? It's like I've been a Nets believer like before KD and Kyrie were playing when they were like doing the woo walk on the sideline. I was like, this team is so much fun. You know what I mean? It's like look at Karis LeVert. But it's just like I have been that way. And to be fair, like I also did believe that like Russell Westbrook would work on the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like the discourse now is just like, who in the world thought this was going to work? And in the background, I'm kind of like, yeah, I thought it was going to work. You know what I mean? So I'll like die on that hill. But like when you look at it, it's like we've got Kyrie Irving and KD. All right, we know what they are, right? And then Ben Simmons, like God, he can't shoot. So well, when you got Joe Harris and Seth Curry and Kyrie Irving and KD like handling the ball, like you don't need to shoot. Like if you shoot a jump shot, that's probably like a bad shot for your team. And their problem last year was defense, and Ben Simmons is a great defender. Ben Simmons is great in transition. Like, I'm high on Ben Simmons as a basketball asset. Like, the last full season he played, he was the number 2 defensive player in the year. And, like, last time I checked, 50% of the time you're out there, you're playing defense. And, like, oh, he can't shoot. It's like, yeah, he can't shoot. He's not a great, like, point forward playmaker with the ball either. Well, guess what? Like, if he's dribbling more than 3 times, that means that Kyrie or KD isn't. Like, I just really believe in Ben Simmons. And now, granted, I have watched the first few games of the season. Yeah. And I'm just kind of chalking it up to like, let him like figure it out. But he hasn't made me look great. I think he's played 24 minutes and has like 75 fouls. I don't know how that's even possible, but he's done it somehow in the first few games. But I'm a big believer in Ben Simmons and the Nets, and I say this every season, and I look like a fool at the end of the season every season as well.
Yeah, but I think you're talking a lot about the players on paper, which I think a lot of us do, right? Until we start seeing these teams get together, right? Even the Lakers, for what they have now, doesn't look that bad on paper. And then when you see them on the court, you're like, what is going on? But I do think for the Nets, it's very, very early times in the season. So I would give them maybe like 10 to 15 games, and we can see how Ben Simmons is gelling with the team. And somebody else talked about that too, saying like, well, he's been around the team. Chemistry shouldn't be the issue. Do you agree with that? Or do you think because they're not on the court together?
I've had like very few surgeries in my life. Like I think I had like a spleen screen put in and like my nose broken back a couple times. But like the idea that he had back surgery is a bit of a concern. You know what I mean? Sure. I mean, it's like it's like, all right, glass half full. Like he had back surgery, he's working his way back, and like glass half empty. Like the dude had back surgery like a couple months ago. You know what I mean? Like back surgery is a big deal, and if you have back surgery, that means there was something wrong with your back in the first place. So I could definitely play both sides of that coin. But I'm glad you kind of bring up the like roster thing, because when you do look at like paper, which we do in the off season, it always looks so good. And then you look at it in person, and obviously, like, they just got Harris back and like Seth Curry and that, and you're like, oh yeah, not the deepest team, Like, well, look at these third quarters, these like second units are not, exactly like blowing my socks off in the way that some of the other teams do. So, I think that's why one of the things I think is so important is like watching the games, not just like looking at the box scores. I just want to say it upsets my wife a lot. Like I have to tell her, like, yes, I'm up watching the Thunder, play like the Mavs at like 1 a.m. No, I can't go to bed. This is work, babe.
I mean, I'd kind of be pissed staying up to watch the Thunder versus the Mavs too, which, by the way, like I'll always have a soft spot for OKC, but, times have changed in the past 7 years. But I do want to talk about the Lakers a little bit. You brought them up. Another team, like we talked about, they have superstars on paper. Westbrook is one of those guys that the media has talked about a lot lately for not a lot of good reasons. Do you think that he has been unfairly criticized lately in the past year or so?
It's an interesting way of phrasing that. Does he deserve criticism? I would answer that question, yes. Has he been unfairly criticized? I would say yes, just from the sheer volume. Like, it becomes this thing where it's like, Russ becomes a lightning rod for all of the criticism when, like, LeBron, after game one, my guy, like, went to the press conference in front of microphones and reporters, was like, yeah, we don't have shooters. Like, we're not shooting lasers out there, which I've never heard of that term before and used it in basketball, but we all knew what he meant. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, no one can shoot the effing ball on the team. Like, what do you think is going to happen? And I was like, wow, like, that feels much more like a March criticism, like when he does that, like, criticize the team before the playoffs move he used to do. But I was like, after game one, for him to just be saying that, like, guess what? There's no shooters on the team, was like, really indicative and something that deserves, quote unquote, like more criticism than, like, the problem isn't Russell Westbrook. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he is part of the problem, and like there is a full pie of sort of blame to pass out. But my man has a very healthy portion, but like he's not eating half of that pie.
The thing that I don't understand was that he was coming to the Lakers not to be the one or two guy. He was going to be the third option regardless. So I've never seen the media in general come down so hard on the third option on a team who's also out of his prime and who did not play as bad as everybody made it seem like he played last year. Like, yeah, maybe it wasn't his best season that he's ever had, and he hasn't had the greatest start to this season, but it's just so confusing to me as a consumer of media, like how hyper-focused a lot of these places get with the Lakers narrative, which they're not a good team. Unless they make some big changes, they're not going to be a contender. I think that's pretty obvious, but we're not harping on what the Detroit Pistons need to do, like who they need to move. No. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, and I get LeBron, like he is the greatest of our era. So maybe that's why it's this hyper focus, but it's weird to me, I guess.
But they have like LeBron James in purple and gold. And that's why there is so much discourse about them, and I understand that. But like, it's something I love to think about. But but the discourse becomes about Russell Westbrook and not really about like what's wrong with the Lakers. And I think quickly what's going to happen. I'm just giving you a little like vet prediction here.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's gonna start becoming about LeBron passing Kareem. You know what I mean? Like, because he needs to score. He has to be like a legit 20, 25-point contributor night after night, play 60 or 66 games for it to happen. And I think that is going to be the focus because it's such a cool record. You know what I mean? To be like,
Absolutely.
I've scored more baskets than anybody else in the history of the league, and I'm also like third in assists. Like, it's just such a big deal that will be his coronation of this season. And another prediction, he could be like 1 point away and still have like 3 road games. He will sit those 3 road games out to make sure it happens at the Staples Crypto Blood Center, whatever we're calling it now. Like that is going to happen in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
Like it has to happen in Los Angeles with Kareem there and like all the celebrities and like the stop the game, like that they should start like my producer brain turns on, like we should start like producing this now. You know what I mean?
True.
Like we just start mathematically figuring out what games it's going to happen in, start booking people, start setting up a performer's lights and graphics and T-shirts or whatever. Like this is going to be a huge event that like in 10 years from now, I think we look back at this season. It's like, oh, this team won and LeBron passed Kareem.
No, I can see that. I think that's a good vet prediction. I know it's super early, but finals predictions. Or what teams do you see? Give me 4 teams that you think could be in that finals position.
Let's do conference finals. Again, like I'm wrong about this like pretty much every year. You know what I mean?
Are.
Because it's so easy. Like, yeah, it's just like, and also I'll change mine. And I'll change mine and then act like that was my preseason pick too. Like I'll just straight up lie. Like I have no shame about anything when it comes to these weird predictions. Like, give me yours. Let me just help me out. What do you got? Let's go your Eastern Conference and my Eastern Conference. And I'll go first with the Western Conference.
Well, I have this weird kind of faith in the Miami Heat for no reason at all. Just because I think they're an exciting team to watch. Yeah. When Miami's good, it's good for the NBA. So I would love to see, as far as excitement goes, Boston, Miami. I think those are just 2 really like fun young teams, and that would be very exciting. The Bucks are great, but they're a bit boring to me to watch.
Wow, do you hear that?
I know.
I know Giannis listens. He's going to be so upset with you.
No, it's nothing against Giannis. Like, he's exciting, but I think the team in general, for whatever it is, like, I enjoy watching Boston or Miami over them. So for that, I would put them. And then I'd love to see the Warriors Suns. I know we got a little bit of a preview of that even this week. The Suns, I've been one of those people who's been kind of thinking that they were a little overhyped the past couple years. Because, again, on paper, everything seems great, but for some reason, they just can't put it together. But now that the past 2 years, they've kind of given it away, I feel like maybe there's a little more incentive to finally get there. And I would love to see the Warriors back because that would just be dope. They had 5 rings. That'd be wild.
I want to start by just recognizing your Eastern Conference Finals matchup and saying, you really made a great case. And I was in the building, like, Jimmy Butler missed a 3. You know what I mean? We talked about it for like 3 days of whether or not he should have taken it to the rim and drew a foul or whatever. But like that thing rimmed out. Like we are like a millimeter away, a few millimeters away from like them going to the finals and being like the Eastern Conference champions from last year. They would have never beaten the Warriors in a million years. But like I think like I even write them off early in this pod. I put them in the second tier of the Eastern Conference, and like Heat fans, and especially my man Parakeet Cortez, who I hope listens to this because everyone listens to this, but he's gonna get mad at me. It's like I put them in. They were in Game 7 at home and missed a 3. Like,
yeah.
But for some reason, like I still don't respect them that same way. So great picks there. I have the Bucks because, like you, like I don't. They're not like one of my favorite league pass watches. Like Giannis's dominance is like just dominant. Is exactly that, and him like sort of in the zone can match anybody else's great performance in the zone. I have the Bucks. They are kind of a boring pick, but like they're really good. They're missing, they're missing Middleton last year. Like, what do you want them to do? If they're healthy, I have them in there. But my second pick is more of like a confession of just I can't quit Nets optimism. I can't do it. I don't know why.
I quit a long time ago. I'm sorry.
I don't know why. I can't quit Nets. I'm like Kyrie Irving. Like he's got a great track record. He's never submarine locker room chemistry in the past, and like KD is KD, but then KD, if you think about KD last year in the Celtics series, which like kind of feels like 4 years ago, you remember that? Like turning the ball over and like he wouldn't dribble. They're like swiping at his hands. He couldn't even get a shot off clean. Like I still believe in the Nets. I still, against all evidence, like when I'm going with my heart, not my head. I'm going Nets Bucks.
And then Western Conference.
We both have the Warriors because I just feel like the Warriors are just like at this point. I mean, like to have a team like they had last year, and then just be like, oh, by the way, we've got like a sort of seasoned 7-footer who's been in our system for 2 years, but was out last year for injury. We're just going to add him, and we're developing Kuminga, and now we've got this Jordan Poole guy developing as like a go-to scorer. Like just the idea that they've got not just the sort of vet core, but they've got like second-year guys, third-year guys, and rookies that are, James Wiseman at least that can, and then they got DiVincenzo. Like they've just kind of reloaded in a way that most champions can and don't. So I have them in. Like, be shocked if it doesn't happen. And then I'm going with another weird one, the Nuggets. Let me make my case.
Oh God.
Nikola Jokic.
Okay.
Nikola Jokic got this team and that roster without much of a supporting cast. Out to all of those excellent basketball players, the professionals that play alongside of him. But I think there were other superstars had different supporting casts when you look at like the Lukas and the Stephs and the KDs and whatever. And then they add Jamal Murray, and we've seen him, what he can do.
Right.
And they, add Michael Porter Jr., who is like, granted like somewhat of a like, high ceiling, low floor contributor, and health has a lot to do with that. But like if Michael Porter Jr. is right and Jamal Murray's right and Nikola Jokic is what he is, like I could see them having a great regular season, putting them in position to get to the Western Conference Finals. Those are my picks.
I guess we just haven't seen them yet this season together gelling. What about Dallas? I wanted to ask, because that was someone that I kind of had up there with the Suns. I feel like that could go either way if Dallas gets it together.
Dallas might have overperformed last year. Like I think if that, whatever happened at the end of that Suns thing, like curse, COVID, whatever sort of spells, whatever your theory is as to what happened in that Game 7, DeAndre Ayton upset, whatever. I do feel like if the Suns played that series 10 times, they probably win 7 or 8. And I feel like that was like really heroic from Luka. But they lose Jalen Brunson, who was like a big piece of their playoff run. And they kind of like swap out bigs and bring in Wood, who I think he was like 3 for 3 last night shooting threes. He looked great. But and they added Hardaway. Just like there's a part of me that kind of just need to see it with the Mavericks. But like that's I think one of the most intriguing things about this season is like that second spot in the Western Conference Finals, because like I mentioned at the very top, like I feel like in the Western Conference you have the Warriors and there's like who else? Kind of like this pack of like 5 teams, like the Clippers and the Mavs and the Nuggets and the and the Lakers, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody else, but like that it feels like the Warriors are kind of like in, and they're like the musical chairs for the second spot in the dance card. Does that make sense?
Yeah, answer this for me because you're more in the know. Why are people picking the Clippers to go all the way? That's very confusing to me.
Okay, I'll give you 3 words. 2 names, 1 word. Ty Lue, right? I think like there's a Ty Lue effect. Like if you look at, they were without PG and Kawhi for like a long stretch of their season last season, and they were getting it done. I think Ty Lue would be my first person. My second word would be depth. Like they kind of have like a second unit that would start on like a few teams. You know what I mean? Like they've got they're like one of those teams I call like a Noah's Ark team. Like they've just got 2 of everything. Which not every team has. Like, a lot of teams kind of go like 8 people. They've got a full like Noah's Ark roster, and the last one is just Kawhi. Like what he did in that Toronto year, and again, like he hasn't really been healthy since, and the bubble was the bubble. But like that Toronto thing is like just wild. After doing it previously with the Spurs, like I just think he's like a playoff weapon that like only the LeBrons and Lukas and Stephs and Giannis's can really compare to. But it's just like there's a part of me that's very concerned because as of us taping this, like he didn't play last night, and it wasn't like, hey, I'm resting. It's like I'm leaving the road trip and going back to Los Angeles and receiving treatment. Like it's not like, oh hey, like Kawhi's on a plan and minutes restriction and this and that. And he also wasn't playing like 38 minutes in back-to-backs either. Like he was playing 20 minutes a game, and here we are in Game 5, and he's already like on a plane by himself to get treatment. That's just very concerning for me. So I wouldn't put the Clippers in there just for that reason because of health.
MVP predictions. I know it's also very early, but any players that
of course
are up there for you?
I'm not going with the chalk one here. I'm going with kind of a bold take. It's only been done, again, off the top of my head, I think 3 times, and I think it's like Larry, Kareem, and Wilt. And I think Nikola Jokic is going to win his 3rd straight, and let me tell you why. A lot of the times, it's hard to win the MVP and be like the 7th seed unless you're Russell Westbrook. This is more of a belief in the Nuggets progression and it's a little bit of a bet on the production of Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, because I really think that they could truly, like in a tough Western Conference, they could truly become like a 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, and then Nikola Jokic will again, like no one will want to give it to him like last year. Like I wanted to vote, I didn't vote, but I wanted to vote for Joel Embiid, but like when you start kind of like reading and like looking at the numbers and looking at the wins losses and just like kind of looking at like, you know, like they go to Basketball Reference and look at like their last 10 games, kind of like, I don't know, like it's hard to give it to him. So I think it'd be one of those things where like Nico just becomes the undeniable MVP, because this is a bit of a bet on the performance of the Nuggets. And who do you have, and what do you think about Nikola Jokic? You haven't heard that one, have you?
I think I've heard people say that he's still up there, but I don't know. Luka is really exciting to me, but again, it's one of those things where we know that Luka can score, but can he elevate his team along with it? And I think that's a big thing. And I think Joel Embiid, and even honestly, this is like a little bit of insider information, like that's what he wants. I know his trainer Drew Hanlon really well. Like they've been working on that, getting that MVP for the last few years. So I know like he wants that. He wants to win. Like that's a competitor. He works really hard during the off season. So I know that he thinks also that he deserved it last year, along with a lot of other people thought that he deserved it. And so I feel like Joel, and then we'll see what Luka does with the Mavs. If he can elevate them and get them back to the same position that they were last year in playoffs, I could see both of them being there too. But okay, so wrong or right, we might both be wrong this entire season, but we shall find out. But on the Courtside Club, we do like to take a halftime break if you're down. On Jalen and Jacoby, you guys do a lot of top fives with your guests. So for you, I wanted to get your starting fives.
Love this.
So I have different categories for you. First up, sticking on the NBA theme, the starting 5 players in the NBA right now.
Starting 5 players in the NBA. So I'm not going to go, like, I'm not trying to win games here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to have a good team chemistry. So I haven't been prepped with these, so I'm going off the top of my head. So I'm feeling a little bit to think of just some personalities that I want around. All right? So I'm going number 1. I want Giannis, okay? Because winning, again, like I want a good time and I want a good culture. Hard to do that when you're losing. You know what I mean? Like not a lot of fun dinners after the game when you're losing. So I have Giannis just to guarantee me like a certain level of quality. All right, because now I can just start people that I think are fun. LaMelo Ball comes to mind, filling out the roster. I love LaMelo Ball. Great personality. He's a weirdo. He admits it. His whole thing is like I'm one of one, and also, who doesn't love a fancy pass? Because like a fancy pass, the best thing about a fancy pass, because I'm an overpasser and I do fancy passes when I play, so I always like that in other people's games. Again, I'm bad at basketball. LaMelo good at basketball, but I like an inappropriately fancy pass because it gets LaMelo in the highlight and he gets off, but also gives the finisher a chance to sign. So now 40% of our team is involved in the highlight. Again, good vibes, lots of wins. He's a good distributor, right?
Okay.
We need a pure thumper, right? Because LaMelo's got the ball. Giannis is going to get his buckets. So we need just like a catch and shoot ace. Probably some defense would be helpful as well. So we're looking for like a classic 3-and-D. And again, team guys, chemistry. I also need the guy who's going to get kicked out of the game like Klay Thompson yesterday. I'm going with, and he's available. So I'm getting Jay Crowder for like a second-round pick, right? I'm bringing Jay Crowder. So right now I got Jay Crowder because he's tough, but he's quiet. You know what I mean? Like you always want the guy when there's like a problem at the club that like we know we send him over as our representatives, like Game of Thrones style. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, Jay, like you speak for the group here, like you're in charge. You know what I mean? Because I plan on having like a fun young team, so I need Jay Crowder.
And LaMelo might be running his mouth, so Jay might need to just step in, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I'm going to take Ben Simmons because I'm such a Ben Simmons believer and apologist that I want the Ben Simmons Assance to happen. You know what I mean? I want the Ben Simmons redemption tour, so I'm going to bring him with us. And then finally, I need I don't know if that'll work alongside LaMelo because I want LaMelo to have the ball. You know what I mean? I was thinking Chris Paul, but he's also like not fun. You know what I mean? So he's killing all my vibes. Chris Paul, you're a great player. You're not invited to this team.
He would be like team dad, you know?
No compensation.
Yeah.
If they were like, do you want Chris Paul for nothing? I would be like, no. Vibe killer. Yes, we would probably win an extra 15 games a season, but like killing the vibes. You know what I mean? Don't do that. We're not going to get him.
What about
I want
Ja?
someone young who dresses crazy. Oh, too good at basketball. You know what I mean? Like, we got Giannis. You know, I feel like LaMelo's going to be unhappy. I want a happy LaMelo. I feel like if Ja's just taking the ball, driving past people and dunking, and LaMelo's like in the corner spotting up, like I'm really trying to foster LaMelo's vibes to be the highest. I'm going with a Kuzma. So we've got Kuzma, Crowder, Giannis, LaMelo. I want like a really bouncy lob catchy guy that's super fun to throw alley-oops to. So let's go with like a Mitchell Robinson. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He's good vibes. Nope. Jackson Hayes. He gets arrested sometimes.
Oh,
you know what
my
I mean?
God.
Like, you never know. Yeah, I'll go with Jackson Hayes. He'll catch the lobs, he'll rim protect, and like who knows what happens when we go out at night. So that's my starting five right there.
I'm appointing Chris Paul just to go on road trips with you guys to make sure that everybody stays on the
As
show.
chaperone.
Yeah.
He'll text Adam Silver, be like, send the security. Here's our address. And drop a pin. Because he's on text with Adam Silver. It'd be like, we need the wolf. We send the wolf. We're in Salt Lake City. We need you. Here, drop the pin.
He's in the back with his sunglasses and his like little trench coat, just watching from the corner. Whew.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's a really fun starting five in the NBA right now. But I'd also like to know your starting five NBA players of all time.
That's pretty easy. Well, there's always like tricky. It gets tricky, but I can't do it without Kareem. I can't do it without Michael Jordan. I can't do it without LeBron James. I never saw Will, but like dude scored 100. I'll throw him in there. Magic Johnson. I probably forgot somebody important.
Interesting.
That's what I'm going with.
So
Off the top
Will,
of my head.
Kareem, Mike,
That's what I'm going with.
LeBron, and Magic Johnson.
Magic.
So-
As someone who grew up in Massachusetts and prayed. I prayed to a Larry Bird poster before all my games, but I can't put him in the top five.
When Jalen was on the Courtside Club, he made his starting five and then said that he would block anybody who didn't have Bill Russell in their top three all time. But he didn't put Bill Russell in his starting five though. So
I think Bill Russell. I'll take. Who am I taking out? You're gonna put someone. You gotta take someone out. I'm taking out.
Will?
I'm taking out. Who's the last person? No,
Magic Johnson?
Yeah, I like Magic. I like Magic. I'll take out Will and put in Bill Russell.
Okay. So he is in your starting five.
Can't be wrong here. Yeah, sure. I forget someone every time I make a list. I've made this very clear.
Okay, so on Jalen and Jacoby, you guys also have a lot of music guests. I feel like you guys are talking about music or have musical guests on all the time. So I want to know your starting five music artists of all time.
Starting five music artists of all time. Oh, God. God. Okay, let me go. This is just my personal, in no particular order.
Your
I can't
personal-
be wrong about this. It's one thing I want. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm going with Wu-Tang Clan because I get like 9. You know what I mean? Like it's a cheat. So now I've you know what I mean? I've already filled up my top 5 with 9 people, and I've got 4 more spots. Okay.
Fine. Okay,
So I'm
I'll
going with
take
the
it.
Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah, I think that's fair. I love Redman personally. It's just a personal thing of mine. I just love the guy, and I'm going with I'm going to go with a playlist and more of a vibe than an actual music artist for my third one. It's Apple Music or Spotify, whatever you listen to. Piano Chill, it's called. It's just like super chill piano music. It's just like little. It's like slow, like no other instruments. Just one person, man or woman, on a piano, just playing super slow, chill jams. And like just like if you're ever having like the day's getting a little too fast for you, or you need to go to sleep, or you need to chill on a plane, or you're just like walking through the city, put on some Piano Chill, and the vibes will just be fixed. It is the Robitussin of music right there.
I wasn't expecting
That's my
that.
number 3 pick. I'm gonna go all time, man. Like there's some real people who really contributed to this art. You know what I mean? That I don't want to go
Yeah,
away
especially
from.
Piano Chill.
Yeah. I look what I said. I'm like, God, I'm thinking like Michael Jackson, Prince. I'm thinking Mozart, and then Rachel off the top rope is like, bro, you put in Piano Chill, so like let's not overthink this, all right? Yeah, I was thinking like Mozart and Bach, and I'm like, you can't name a single hit. I don't have a single banger from Bach. So like, stop trying to be smart, Jacoby, and just say Redman again. All right, so I got Redman, Wu-Tang Clan, Piano Chill, Jack White. I really like Jack White. Like, I'm not a huge White Stripes guy, but I love the Raconteurs, and I just think like he's a really like good musician. And for number 5, I'm gonna go Rick Rubin, just because again I get a lot underneath me there. You know, I'm taking out Jack White, putting in Dr. Dre. I'm going Dr. Dre and Rick Rubin as my finishers because I get so much there. Like, you see what I did with Wu-Tang Clan, Dr. Dre and Rick Rubin? Like, I get their catalog. It's kind of like a versus battle. Like, they can kind of do their own features and whatever. So my final list is Piano Chill, Redman, Wu-Tang Clan, Jack White, and Rick Rubin.
No, wait, you took out Jack White for Dr. Dre.
Yeah, I did. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not keeping a list. No idea what I'm doing here, Rachel.
You need your own segment, David Jacoby, off the top of my head. Like, that would be a fire show.
It's called Jalen and Jacoby.
Right?
It just says in the rundown, it says like, I don't have like prompter. You know what I mean? It just says like Blazers game, Knicks game. And I just kind of make it work from there.
All right, it's time for the second half.
Football season is here, and nothing beats seeing your favorite team live. Not only does Vivid Seats have great NFL ticket prices, they're also the official ticketing partner of ESPN. And with Vivid Seats rewards, when you buy 10 tickets, you get the 11th free. Download the app or visit vividseats.com today. Vivid Seats. Life happens live. Receive a reward credit equal to the average price of the 10 tickets purchased, excluding taxes, fees, and processing costs. See vividseats.com/rewards for terms and conditions.
All right, people, we're brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook, the greatest sports betting app of all time. See, it's not just about the daily promos, odd boosts, or the hundreds of ways to wager. It's about the immortal words of Caesar himself. You bet, you get with Caesars Rewards. Every bet you place on the app, no matter the outcome, earns towards exclusive perks at Caesars Rewards destinations everywhere. Hotel stays, concert tickets, bonuses, and more. Download the Caesars Sportsbook app, become a Caesars Rewards member today, and get more with every wager. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-522-4700.
How did you and Jalen meet? How did this show that has now been going for over 10 years, how did it come about?
Great question. Actually, 2 different answers to one question. We met in the bathroom of Strokers, a gentleman's club in Atlanta. And it was one of my first forays into the Atlanta Gentlemen's Club experience. It's very different. It is very much a hang. It is very much a co-ed situation, a lot of food focused. And I was there with my friend, and wasn't the most diverse crowd. And Dave Chappelle was there. And at some point, like the DJ was like, Dave Chappelle's in the building. Like everybody cheers and gets all excited. And this is a long time ago. Like this is 2004. And Dave Chappelle was there, and they gave Dave Chappelle the mic. And I think they expected him to like do like a, hey, I'm Dave Chappelle. This is amazing. Love Strokers. Like they expected him to like be nice. He gets on the mic. He goes, where are my wings? I guess his wing order was like delayed. Yeah. So he did like 2 minutes just roasting the establishment on how long their wings take to get to his table in classic Dave Chappelle like mode. And then one trip to the bathroom, Jalen was there, and like, you know, you can't like talk to another person while you're at the urinal or whatever. So like we were like washing our hands, and I just had to like introduce myself and say what's up. And then, you know, 8 years later, he proposed doing a podcast for Grantland to Bill Simmons, who was running Grantland, and myself, who was in charge of audio and video at Grantland. And we had a call meeting about it. And I was like, so, Jalen, like, we'll do a pilot, because you always want to do a pilot. You don't want to, like, give someone a podcast that you can't take back. Mm-hmm. Podcast producers, listen. And I was like, we're going to do a pilot. Like, is there someone that you played with, or, like, someone you grew up with that you want to do it with? Like, who do you want to do this with? And, like, it was quiet for a second. And he goes, what, you don't want to do it? And then he proposed that he wanted to do it with me. And I thought I would just do the pilot, and we'd eventually replace me with that spot. And now we're 11 years later, and that spot was never replaced.
Here you are sitting in the studio now. That's dope.
Here I am.
Really quick, though, before we talk more about the show, Is it true? Because I'm not one who frequents gentlemen's clubs, but I have heard that the chicken wings are like the main focus of those things. Is that true?
That's an Atlanta exclusive thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I would never order food. Like, not never. Food is not like the main attraction in most of these establishments. But like in Atlanta, it's very much like a thing. It's much more of it's a very different culture there. And I've only been like a handful of times, so I can't speak at it like an expert. But it's like it's sort of shocking. There's like a lot of pool playing and game watching and wing eating. You know what I mean? It becomes like sort of it's like one of the things that's going on is the sort of entertainment. Whereas many other places, it's like the entertainment is the thing that's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Okay, so working with Jalen. Has there ever been a time that you guys got into it and you were kind of worried about where the show was going to go? You guys have been working together for over 10 years now. There had to be, it couldn't have been all smooth sailing.
It's not all smooth sailing. There was never a like, early on, sometimes you wouldn't text back for a while. I'd be like, hey, you're doing what day this week you want to do the show? This is very early on. And like, I wouldn't hear back. And I'd be like, is he like even into this? You know what I mean? It's kind of like one of those dating things where you don't hear back. And you're like, we can break up, dude. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Just like, let me know. You know what I mean? That was just like early on. It was like a little hard to like pin him down to do it. I would question whether he's into it or not. But once we kind of got established and it was fun and sort of like became like actual friends and going on, there was never a moment where like the actual show or the partnership was in question. But like, you know, as like very close colleagues and brothers, like we bicker over like little stuff that gets intense. Like someone on the phone call, this is like so dumb, but anyone who's like ever been in a romantic relationship or like a very close working environment can like relate to this, is someone on the call compared Ben Simmons to Draymond Green, right? Uh-huh. This is like, now, is this something that should like start like an all-out like war of the Targaryens? Like, no, but it totally did. Because Jalen's like on the call, he's like, don't ever compare Ben Simmons to Draymond Green. Like, that's insane. And then I decided to be like, you know what? Like, I understand what you're saying, Jalen. Like, they're very different basketball players. However, great defenders, size, can guard 1 through 5, limited skill set offensively, but like effective, great passers. I'm like, you know, there's some intersection of those two circles, and like that turned into like a huge passionate argument that like, you know, like boiled over. So it's not like, oh, like you know, like kind of like as you led the question, there was like, oh man, we thought we weren't going to do the show in like 2015 and we had a big fight and like punched each other in the parking lot and didn't talk for 3 months. Like that doesn't happen. But like the little stuff about like Draymond Green is Ben Simmons. Yes, he is. No, he's not. Can like boil over and bicker just like any sort of like close couple. So it's a lot more of that kind of thing than it is the like, oh my God, let's cancel the show. I hate this guy kind of thing.
Yeah. So there's no footage that TMZ is going to get with one of you guys throwing a crazy punch.
No, I mean maybe, but like not at each other and like not landing for sure. If it's from me, yeah, it's like not at him, and it's definitely not going to land. Yeah, and then I'll get punched a lot after that. Yeah. So that will be the footage. It'll be much more like me throwing a crazy punch, missing, and then getting my kicked, and then like the and then we'll move on to the next thing, like whatever.
Would you guys ever box each other? There's been a lot of influencer celebrity boxing going on.
No. Well, two things. Number one, my nose breaks in a stiff wind. It's been broken a bunch. So, like, no. And number two, like, I did some boxing as a kid. Very tiring sport. Exhausting. Like, no breaks. Like, no breaks. You know what I mean? Like, you're playing pickup basketball, you, like, take a possession off. Like, I'm sure you played soccer. You can kind of, like, hide for a little bit when the ball's the other side. Like, baseball, you're basically standing around the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, volleyball, you have a huddle. Football, we do something for 5 seconds, then huddle up and rest for 40 seconds. Like, no breaks in boxing. Like, you're out there, like, you're moving. Like, there's 3 minutes on and then 2 minutes off or whatever it is. Like, it is tiring. I don't have that kind of stamina, and I don't like to be punched. I don't even like punching people. Like, it is not my sport, even in a very, like, sort of, for charity sort of exhibition kind of way. Like, no thank you. 3 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, but, like, when you're getting punched and trying to punch somebody and, like, there's 0 breaks, like, 3 minutes is long, man. I'm not doing that.
Speaking of, Jake Paul's fight this weekend against Anderson Silva, who do you got?
I think it's fair to say that, like, when we watch these things, we just really want Jake Paul to get knocked out. Now, I'm not trying to say that I don't like Jake Paul. I'm not trying to say that I don't have like utmost respect for his hustle and like his like many branches of revenue streams and his sort of like manipulation of the media. Like, shout to him for like making himself a millionaire off of like being himself and like becoming a pretty decent boxer. Like he's like, hey, I'm gonna try boxing, but that was also like 4 years ago. He's like trained every day for 4 years to become a boxer. Like at this point, he is a boxer. But like when I watch these things, I want him to get knocked out, and it never happens. And I was excited about this fight because Silva's got such a great like history and pedigree, and like I've seen him knock so many people out. But when I saw the promotional photos, I was like, oh man, like one guy's like really excited to take his shirt off, and like one guy's like, you know, like not. And I think I'm gonna go for like the younger, bigger dude. And
so you think
I
Jake will
wouldn't
take
bet
it?
on this one. I'm rooting for Jake Paul to get knocked out, and I will root for Jake Paul to get knocked out. Like I can't imagine an opponent in the other corner that I would like root for Jake Paul against. Like I really like you have to be like a really bad person that like they wouldn't even let on the card for me to root like for Jake Paul.
Dang.
But I don't think it's going to happen at this point.
And I will say though, he has earned my respect over the past few years with what he's done, and it does seem like he's taking it seriously. But I do like this matchup a little bit better because at least, you know, it's someone with 20 years experience on him, you know, so obviously like he's young and has a lot of energy, and, you know, 3 minutes might not seem that long to him, but Anderson Silva's been doing this for, you know, however many decades. So
But like, he still hasn't fought a boxer. You know what I mean? Like he's fought athletes. He's fought UFC fighters, and he's going to do that again. And like I do want to say, like I felt the same thing, like, oh, experienced fighter, but like, you know, it's a different sport. Like just because you're really good at rugby, like doesn't mean you can like play in the NFL on Sunday. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of the transferable skills. I don't know, punching and defending yourself, but like it is a very different discipline. And I think that Jake Paul has carefully decided not to fight boxers anywhere near their prime.
I think that's also smart though. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, man.
We'll see what happens this weekend. But we are reaching the end of the game, so I have some buzzer beaters for you.
I'm excited. Let's do it.
Some David Jacoby off the top of my head buzzer beaters.
Great.
I know you're a foodie, so what is your ideal food and drink combo while sitting courtside?
Ooh, ideal food and drink. While sitting courtside is a different thing because it's a very different question if I'm like at a restaurant seated. This is kind of be something I can like eat from my lap. You know what I mean?
Courtside,
So, like,
yeah,
that
and
kind
you'll
of
be on
does change
camera.
things.
You could be on the Jumbotron.
Okay, yep, good. I am going with simple. I was just in LA recently. I lived in LA between Fort Grantland between like 2011, 2015, 16, something like that. And I thought I had eaten like tacos before, but I had never eaten tacos until I lived in Los Angeles. So they would be straight up just carne asada street tacos with like a spicy michelada. Because I feel courtside, like you can kind of just have like a little taco tray in your lap, no utensils. You can hold a taco in one hand and a beer in the other hand and still watch the game. Like there can't be a utensil involved. So finger food would be carne asada street tacos, lots of onions, cilantro, lots of like, you know, Cholula tapatía, and that would be my vibe. I just came back from Los Angeles, so it's very much influencing.
What about to drink?
It's michelada, another Los Angeles thing. I see
I
myself at a Laker game. For some reason, I'm at a Laker game.
Michelada?
It's a great question, and they don't really sell them like outside of Southern California, or actually, you know, I shouldn't say that. All over Mexico, I'm positive. Michelada is basically a Bloody Mary, but instead of vodka, it's beer. I'm sure it's more complicated than that. I don't know how to make them, but it's some combination of like lime juice, tomato juice, spicy stuff, and beer. So it's like it's kind of like a Bloody Mary, but instead of vodka, beer, and it comes on ice. I've always wondered why we don't drink beer with ice. Like we drink soda with ice, but never beer. Conversation for another time.
Because watered down beer is probably, well, I guess watered down soda is gross too. I don't know.
I like it. I don't mind.
Yeah. One person, dead or alive, that you'd love to sit courtside with.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna say like people in my personal life are excluded. Like I'd love to bring some family members back, but that's not like the exercise of this podcast, I imagine. Sorry to my mother-in-law, but I want to have a good time. I want to have some beers. Right? And I want like maybe to go out afterwards if it goes well. You know what I mean? Like like I don't want to learn. Like I don't want to have like Malcolm Gladwell there like teach me how to like be a better person. You know what I mean? Like I want a good time person. So I'm gonna go with like Bill Murray. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm gonna go with to sit courtside of a game. I feel like he'll wear something awesome. Like he apparently doesn't have like a phone number or like a mail address. He's like an enigma, like a ghost lord of just like Hollywood. Yeah, so I'm going Bill Murray, and we're not gonna be in Los Angeles. Well, me and Bill Murray at like we'll like go to a Timberwolves game or something, and then like see what Minneapolis is talking about afterwards.
Why don't you go to Atlanta and then go back to the gentleman's club after?
I'm scared. No, thank you. No, thank you. I've had enough. I'm retired. I'm old. I was like, when I was in that place, I was like 24. You know what I mean? Jalen was like still in the league, skinny. Next, I'm gonna go with someone who's passed away. I'd love to go to a basketball game. Bill Russell. Because it's one of those things where, again, it's just a sad. We always things people always said the last 4 years is like give them their flowers, give them their flowers, and the reason is because like people do pass away, and when you start listening to the interviews and when in all the eulogies you hear the anecdotes, and like as someone who's my age, I was born in '78, so like I never really got I didn't watch Bill Russell every day the same way I did like Magic, Larry, and Michael. So like just to from everything I've heard about him, he sounds like such a great hang, such a positive individual, and someone who really loved hoops. So if I'm sitting courtside, like I kind of want someone that checks all those boxes. So I'm going with Bill Russell and Bill Murray, and I guess Bills. I've been to Bills. 2
Bills. What is one event in history that you would have loved to have been courtside for?
Oh, I gotta go Woodstock, the original Woodstock '69.
Okay.
Like I just feel like it was like I wasn't there. Like much like kind of like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. Like I've watched the YouTube clips and like I've heard people talk about it, but it really felt like a vibe. Like I just really feel like it's like a concert. It's a singular concert. I'm not even a concert person. I don't like live music. I've never gone to a festival. Like I don't like live music. I'm a piano chill guy. But this one concert just seemed like. And it's all secondhand information. Like there isn't really footage. Like it just seemed like such a seminal moment in society and such like a sort of a page turn for like I don't know for like a country, I'll say, instead of like a species. And that seems to be like one event that if I could like really just like go back in history and be a part of, that's just the first thing that came to mind, and I'm sticking with it.
Cool. I appreciate that. Well, David, thank you so much for coming on the Courtside Club. Is there anything else that we should be on the lookout for? And also, where can people follow you on socials?
Okay, I'm on Instagram as Jacoby Juice. A decision I made a long time ago. I don't know how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Jacoby Juice. I want the alliteration. I was like, those moments where you're like, this is gonna stick. You know what I mean? Like this is gonna stick. And for some reason, I was so bored at trying to come up with new ones that I got stuck on Jacoby Juice. But like that's what it is. And then D Jacoby on Twitter, and on TikTok, which I'm trying to do more of. I'm Jacoby on soup. I really like soup. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So it's literally just the soups that I eat, not even like me talking about them or anything interesting. So if you're interested in just looking at soup in action, Jacoby on soup.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Courtside Club.
Thank you so much for having me on, Rachel.
Thank you.
What's up, guys? It's Rachel DeMita. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Courtside Club. Make sure that you like, rate, and subscribe to ESPN's YouTube channel and wherever you listen to your podcasts. We have new episodes coming to you guys every single week, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you soon.